Well, it came, but it was delayed quite a bit. Any idea why it was delayed, this announcement?
Well, from our understanding, I think the first priority, we've been told, had to be given to ANC processes. And by that, I mean consultation with the leadership of the African National Congress to make sure that there is, one, they get informed before the public gets to know as to who these members of executive are going to be. But also, if perhaps there are any objections or issues to be raised, to give the leadership of the ANC an opportunity to do so. Remember, after Polokwane, the ANC decided that the prerogative cannot be of the ANC president alone. There has to be as wide and as broad and as deep as possible a consultation process. So apparently that was the delay, complicated, we are told, by the fact that there were several heads of state that that came here for the inauguration yesterday, but were to see the president, in other words, using the opportunity of being here. But also members of the ANC themselves, the ANC leadership, that is, came here both for the inauguration, but also afterwards, only afterwards, in fact, did they then get an opportunity to sort of discuss this process and the names and everything that went with it. So that, in summary, was the reason for so much delay.
All right, so there had been calls and analysts had been speculating that the construction of the cabinet would change and some ministries would be merged. Did that happen?
Well, a bit, but not to the extent that some people had suggested that it would be. There has been some reconfiguration. The telecoms and communications and post ministry has now been separated. There are now two different departments, one for telecoms and posts, which from what the president was saying is essential because you're talking about a booming 180 billion industry, which he reckons needs a bit of focus. But also because we have a large rural community and spreading telecommunications to the rural folk is an essential element, but also perhaps more importantly, a priority of his government over the next 5 years. So he has separated those ministries so that rural areas as well as the telecommunications industry broadly get very specific focus so that ICASA, the SABC, Brand SA, and all those other components, including, of course, GCIS, which is the government communication system, those are going to go to a separate communications ministry to give them their own focus. So that was one major change. But also, South Africa wants to play a big part in making sure that the international community understands what we are about as a nation, our priorities, but also facilitate communication between us and other nations of the world. And for that, I mean, communication is going to deal with that aspect as well. In other words, it's going to deal with publicity, branding, and marketing of the country abroad. So those, I would say, are the major changes. Well, there have been some, combinations here and there where you're going to see social development, including disabilities, which previously was a part of the Ministry of Women and Children with Disabilities. But also another change is that of Justice and Constitutional Development, which now is going to include correctional services. So, there's also, of course, that much talked about Ministry for Small Business Development. That indeed is going to happen. But one other major area where we were told previously there was going to be some change, that of two deputy presidents, that is not going to happen. Cyril Ramaphosa is the new deputy president, and there's no second one.
Okay, Vuyo, we've run out of time, but very importantly, I mean, when we look at the names, some names are familiar, but they've shifted around quite a bit. So, whole reshuffle, new names. What do you make of it in totality?
Well, clearly, I mean, there was a quite of trying to make sure that the president sort of satisfies, or other people would say pacify, certain constituencies and certain people who did a lot of work in the run-up to the election, but also some of the people who have risen, you know, through the ranks. So there is a bit of that as well. So it was a bit of a chess game, but I think broadly or by and large, things have stayed pretty much the same, with not too many surprises, but of course with an affirmation of certain new people and new names, which I think we shall discuss in all our bulletins and current affairs shows tomorrow for the whole day and the evening.
All right, Vuyo, thank you very much indeed. That's our contributing editor who is in Pretoria for that announcement.